Eli Carter had lived on his ranch for so many years that every sound, every shadow, and every change in the wind felt familiar to him. People in town often said he could probably tell the time just by listening to the cattle breathe. He lived a quiet life, peaceful and steady, even though there were days when the silence felt heavy, especially since his wife had passed away. Still, Eli found comfort in working the land, fixing fences, and caring for the animals that depended on him. On this particular autumn evening, the sky looked different. The sun had dipped behind the hills earlier than usual, leaving the entire valley wrapped in a cold, blue-gray light. The wind carried a hint of winter, sharp and dry. Eli finished stacking some hay bales and wiped his hands on his jeans, thinking about making himself a warm meal. His dog, Jasper, trotted alongside him, tail wagging gently, as if sensing it was time to go inside. But just as Eli reached the porch steps, Jasper stopped. His ears lifted, and he stared toward the old equipment shed behind the barn. The shed was a place Eli rarely used anymore. It held old tools, spare fence posts, and boxes of things he had been meaning to sort through for years. There was no reason for anything unusual to come from that direction. Yet Jasper growled softly, not in anger but in confusion. "What is it, boy?" Eli asked, his voice calm but alert. Then he heard it so faint that he wondered if it was just the wind. It sounded like a tiny whimper, almost like someone trying very hard not to cry. Eli stiffened. It didn't sound like any animal he knew. It had a human tone, soft and scared. Eli's first thought was that someone might be hurt. People sometimes passed through the area, hikers or travelers who got lost or stranded. The countryside could be unforgiving at night. He grabbed his flashlight and started walking toward the shed, Jasper staying close to his side. The closer he got, the clearer the sound became. It wasn't loud, but it was heartbreaking. A small, trembling whisper. "Please, don't hurt me." Eli froze. The words were unmistakable. They were filled with fear so deep that it made Eli's chest tighten. He had never heard anything like it on his property before. He looked around quickly, as if expecting someone else to jump out of the shadows, but the ranch was silent, except for the low rustling of dry leaves. He spoke gently, not wanting to frighten whoever was inside. "Hello? Is someone in there?" Jasper barked once, but softly, almost as if he, too, understood the need to be gentle. The shed door was locked, just as Eli had left it weeks ago. But now, when he shined the flashlight on it, he noticed something strange. The lock looked bent. The metal scratched, as if someone had tried to force it open. Eli frowned. He knew he hadn't done that. He knocked lightly. "I'm not here to harm you. Are you injured?" There was a brief silence, then another tiny sob. "Please, don't hurt me." The fear in that voice told Eli everything he needed to know. Whoever was inside believed they were in danger. Eli felt a protective instinct rise in him, the same one he used to feel when caring for his wife during her hard days. He wasn't going to walk away. He wasn't going to leave someone hiding and terrified. "All right," he said softly. "I'm going to open the door now. I promise. You're safe with me." His hands were steady, but his heart beat faster than usual. He found the key in his pocket, slid it into the lock, and turned it slowly. The door creaked open. For a moment, he only saw darkness and piles of old equipment. Dust floated in the beam of his flashlight, like tiny silver moths. Then, in the far corner, he saw a shape small, curled tightly, covered by a torn tarp. Eli stepped forward carefully. "It's all right. I'm not coming close if you don't want me to. I just want to make sure you're okay." The small shape trembled. Eli crouched, still keeping a respectful distance, and gently lifted the edge of the tarp. When the light fell on the figure underneath, Eli drew in a sharp breath, not in fear, but in shock. It was a girl. A teenager. She looked exhausted, her face pale and smudged from being outside. Her clothes were dusty, her hair tangled as if she had been running through rough terrain. But what struck Eli most was the look in her eyes, an expression of deep worry, as though she had been scared for a long time and didn't know if she could trust anyone. "It's okay," Eli said softly, his voice as warm as he could make it. "I'm Eli. I live here. You're safe now." The girl hesitated, her lips trembling. She looked like she wanted to believe him but wasn't sure. Eli didn't move closer. He knew sometimes giving space mattered more than any words. He let the silence sit for a moment, gentle and calm. Finally, the girl whispered, "My name is Lacey." "That's a pretty name," Eli replied gently. "Can you tell me how you got here?" She shook her head quickly, fear returning to her eyes. "No, I can't. I don't want to go back." Eli frowned softly. "Go back where?" But she didn't answer. Her breathing grew quicker, and he could tell that whatever memory she held was too frightening to talk about yet. "It's all right," he assured her again. "You don't have to tell me anything now. Let's focus on helping you feel safe." He extended his hand a little, not touching her, just letting her see that he meant no harm. "Are you hurt? Do you need water? Food?" She nodded slowly. "Water. Okay. Stay right here. I'll be back in a minute." Eli stood and stepped outside, taking a deep breath of the cold air to steady himself. This was not something he ever imagined happening on his quiet ranch. He didn't know who the girl was, where she had come from, or what she meant when she said she didn't want to go back. But he knew one thing: she needed help. He went to the house, grabbed a bottle of water, a blanket, and a flashlight with softer light so it wouldn't hurt her eyes. Jasper stayed near his heels the whole time, confused but aware that something important was happening. When they returned to the shed, Eli handed her the water first. She drank slowly, her hands shaking. Then, he offered the blanket, which she pulled tightly around her shoulders. He could see she was still afraid, but at least she was no longer trembling from the cold. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice almost too small to hear. "You're welcome," Eli replied. "You're safe here. Nobody will bother you." She looked at him, then really looked, trying to read his face. Something in his calm expression seemed to comfort her. Eli sat on an overturned bucket a few feet away so she wouldn't feel crowded. He didn't pressure her to talk. Instead, he let her speak when she was ready. "I got lost," she said finally, her voice weak but steady. "I didn't know where else to go." And you came here?" Eli asked, gently. She nodded. "I saw the lights on in your barn. I was trying to find help. I didn't want to be found by anyone else." Eli's brow furrowed ever so slightly. Her words carried a heavy meaning, even though she didn't say everything. He felt a small shiver, not of fear, but of concern. "Did someone hurt you?" he asked cautiously. She didn't answer. Instead, she pulled the blanket tighter around herself. Eli realized that pushing her would only make her shut down again. "That's okay," he said gently. "You can tell me when you feel ready. Thanks for watching." Pre-even. In the things were for watching. In the things were for watching. And the things were for watching. And the things were for watching. 2-7. She looked at him with tired eyes that had seen too much fear for someone so young. "Please, don't let anyone take me away." Eli felt his heart twist. "No one will touch you, I promise." Then, as he sat there in the dim shed with the frightened girl, he noticed something on her wrist, a small bracelet with a name printed on it. Lacey Harmon. It clicked in his mind. He remembered hearing the name on the radio, the missing girl from a nearby town. He stared in quiet shock, realizing the truth. But he didn't let his surprise show on his face. He didn't want to alarm her. Instead, he spoke softly. "You're safe now, Lacey. I'll take care of you." Outside, The night grew colder, and the wind whispered through the trees. But in the small shed on the ranch, something had shifted. A frightened girl had found a place of safety, and Eli Carter, the quiet rancher who spent most of his life alone, had found himself standing at the beginning of a mystery far bigger than anything he had ever imagined. Deep down, he already sensed one thing. Lacey didn't end up on his ranch by accident, and somewhere in the dark, someone might be looking for her. Eli stayed with Lacey in the shed for a while, keeping his voice calm and steady. He didn't want her to feel alone. Not even for a moment. She clung to the blanket around her shoulders, still shaking a little whenever a gust of wind hit the walls of the shed. Jasper lay on the ground near her feet, his body warm and relaxed, as if trying to show her she had nothing to fear. "It's late," Eli said gently. "How about we move to the house? It's warmer there." Lacey's eyes widened with uncertainty. "Is it safe?" "Yes," he answered without hesitation. "I live alone. It's quiet. No one comes here without telling me first." She looked at Jasper, then at the open shed door. After a moment, she nodded. "Okay, if you're sure." Eli helped her stand up, not touching her unless she reached out first. He kept his movements slow, giving her enough space so she wouldn't feel pressured. They walked together across the cold yard, Jasper trotting slightly ahead, guiding them like a small guardian. Inside the house, the warm air felt comforting. Eli turned on a soft lamp in the living room and brought Lacey a cup of warm herbal tea. She held it between her hands, letting the heat melt away the chill from her fingers. Everything inside the house felt peaceful: old books, family photos, and a crackling fireplace that filled the room with soft orange light. It was the first truly safe place she had been in for a long time. "You can sleep on the couch," Eli said kindly. "I'll stay close by if you need anything." Lacey hesitated. "What if someone comes looking for me?" Eli glanced at the window, where the curtains were drawn tight. "If anyone comes, Jasper will hear them before I do. And I won't let anyone take you without knowing the truth." She nodded slowly, comforted by his words, though shadows still lingered in her eyes. For a few minutes, the house stayed quiet, except for the soft ticking of the old clock on the wall. Lacey finally seemed to relax, her shoulders dropping slightly as she sipped her tea. Eli watched her carefully. Not out of suspicion but out of concern. He could see she was exhausted in a way that went beyond being cold or hungry. Something deeper had worn her down. When she finally put the cup down, Eli sat across from her. "Lacey, you don't have to tell me everything, but if you can share just a little, maybe I can help you more." She looked down at her hands. "I ran away," she whispered. "I didn't know where to go. I was trying to find someone kind. Someone like you." Eli nodded softly. "You did the right thing coming here." Her eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them back. "I saw lights coming from your barn. That's why I came closer. I hid in the shed because I didn't know if you'd be friendly. I was scared to trust anyone." "You're safe now," Eli reminded her. "Anyone who's after you is far away." But as soon as he said the words, Jasper lifted his head. His ears twitched. He stared toward the window and let out a low, uncertain sound. Not a growl, not a bark, but something in between, as if he sensed something unfamiliar outside. Eli frowned and walked to the window. He parted the curtain just a fraction. Headlights were moving slowly up the dirt road. Lacey tensed, clutching the blanket tightly. "That truck," she whispered, barely able to finish her sentence. Eli didn't ask anything. He didn't need to. Her face said everything. The vehicle rolled to a stop near the gate of the ranch. The headlights stayed on, shining across the open field like two bright eyes searching for something or someone. Eli turned off the lamp in the living room. "Stay here," he told Lacey softly. "Don't move from this spot." She nodded, fear returning to her eyes. But she didn't make a sound. Eli stepped outside onto the porch. The air felt colder than before, and the sky was darker. The truck door opened, and a man stepped out. He was tall, dressed in worn work clothes, with a cap pulled low over his eyes. He acted casual, but Eli could see the tension hiding behind his slow movements. "Evenin'," the man called out. Eli didn't step off the porch. "Is there something I can help you with?" The man pretended to look around the ranch, hands in his pockets. "Lost my way. Roads out here get confusing. Thought I saw someone run across my land earlier. Figured I'd check if you saw anyone." Eli kept his expression calm. "Haven't seen anyone but my dog." The man gave a short laugh, but it was stiff. "You sure about that?" Eli's eyes moved to the back of the truck. There were bolt cutters lying openly in the bed. The same kind of tool that could have bent the lock on the shed. "I'm sure," Eli replied. But the man didn't leave. He took a slow step forward, as if trying to look past Eli toward the house. "Mind if I take a look around?" Yes," Eli said simply. "I do mind." For a moment, the two men stood in silence, the cold night air pressing down on them. Jasper came outside and stood beside Eli, his posture alert. The man eyed the dog with a hint of caution. Eventually, the stranger shrugged. "Didn't mean any trouble. Just checking." He turned, walked back to his truck, and drove away, but not fast. Slowly, as if still searching the shadows. Eli watched until the truck disappeared down the long road. When he finally went back inside, Lacey was standing near the doorway, her eyes fearful but hopeful at the same time. "Was it him?" Eli nodded gently. "He's gone for now." She sank onto the couch, breathing out shakily. Eli sat down across from her again. "Lacey, I believe you, but I need you to trust me now. Tell me enough so I can help you properly." She took a deep breath, gathering the courage she had left. "He told me not to run," she whispered. "But I did. I kept running until I found the woods. I walked for hours. Then I saw your ranch. I hid because I heard his truck. I didn't mean to cause trouble. I just didn't want to go back." Eli felt a deep sense of sympathy for the girl. Whatever her full story was, one thing was clear. She needed protection. "You did the right thing," he said again. "And I promise no one is taking you without your permission." She looked at him with a mixture of relief and fear. "What do we do now?" Eli didn't want to alarm her, but he knew he needed to get help. Not from the stranger outside, but from someone trustworthy. "We call the sheriff," he said gently. "They can protect you and make sure no one bothers you again." Lacey hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Okay, if you think it's best." Eli walked to the phone on the wall. He made the call quickly, explaining the situation without giving too many details that might frighten Lacey further. The sheriff promised to send a deputy right away. While they waited, Lacey sat close to Jasper, petting his head softly. The dog leaned into her touch, offering the kind of quiet comfort only an animal could. Half an hour later, the sound of sirens echoed faintly across the hills. But they weren't loud, more like a soft signal, gentle and controlled, meant not to scare Lacey. A patrol car rolled up the driveway, and a kind-looking deputy stepped out. Eli opened the door and waved him inside. "This is Lacey," he said quietly. "She needs help and a safe place." The deputy knelt down to Lacey's level, speaking in a warm, reassuring voice. "You're safe now. We're here to help you." Lacey looked at Eli, asking silently if she should trust him. Eli nodded. "It's all right. He's here to make sure you're protected." Finally, Lacey stood, still wrapped in the blanket, and walked toward the door. Before stepping outside, she turned to Eli. "Thank you," she whispered. "You saved me." Eli felt something shift in his chest, something like pride, but deeper. "Take care, Lacey. You're going to be okay." The deputy guided her to the patrol car gently, and she climbed inside. Jasper whined softly as he watched her leave. Eli stood on the porch long after the car had disappeared, listening to the quiet night and thinking about everything that had happened. His ranch had always been a place of peace, but tonight it had become something else, a place of rescue, a place where a frightened girl found hope again. And though the night air was cold, Eli felt warmth inside him. He knew he had done something good, something important, and he would never forget the night a scared voice in the dark called out, "Please, don't hurt me," and led him into a story he never expected.